Hello, my name is RP2Knight. I am going to submit Crypt of the NecroDancer, Aria hard, wrong music to coronavirus relief done quick. Before I start the video, I would like to describe what this category is. This category is a combination of 3 different challenges in Crypt of the NecroDancer. It combines the character of Aria, who has a bunch of restrictions, with hard mode and wrong music. The restrictions on Aria are that she must move to the beat, she dies in 2 hits, she can only use the base dagger, and she goes through the zones in reverse order. Hard mode adds a bunch of extra enemies, as well as some sarcophagi that spawn enemies, extra mini-bosses on each floor, and mini-bosses in each boss fight. And wrong music means that I will turn off the in-game audio and instead have some other music playing in my ears. I have to keep with the beat, and so I'm going to have to rely entirely on visual cues and actually have to focus out from the music that is coming into my ears. With all that said, let's get underway. Aria starts off in Zone 5, and there's a lot of things going on here. The first thing you should notice is that there's this wire going down the middle. This wire causes electricity to come out of your weapons, and this will spark onto other enemies. This is mostly a good thing. It increases the amount of damage you do at the start, but it can have negative side effects. One of the biggest ones is that it can light up large parts of the stage, displaying enemies, aggroing enemies that you didn't necessarily want aggroed. So you can already see the multiple mini-bosses. I've had to kill a green dragon, and there's a minotaur floating out on the bottom. There are also the 2 sarcophagi that I can't attack or deal with in any way, so I'm now just hoping that they don't become too annoying. I can bomb them, but I only have 1 bomb, and I want to save that for later. I'm going to grab the monocle because it tells me what items exist where, and so this is a useful thing to know when I should go open chests, open shops, what I should go for when I have choices, what to get. So I'm getting this just to see. It also gives some amount of mapping. You can see where some rooms are, and you can figure out where the boss room is by its absence of items. It also showed me the 25 gold sitting in the wall, which is always nice to get. So I'm doing a little bit of farming because this category is difficult, and so here goes. I'm killing these enemies under an easy circumstance, getting gold. Now there's a second bomb which is really useful. I can also see in the shop that there's a torch of strength. This both gives some vision so I can see in advance of what's going to come out of doors when I open them, and gives an extra damage. This extra damage is also useful because the more getting up to especially 3 damage is really nice. There are a lot of enemies that have 1, 2, or 3 health depending on the version. There's a lot of enemies that you want to, that death metal, one of the fights coming up, will be really nice to have 3 damage for. I'm doing a trick here to break open the shop. Normally you have to use a bomb to open this wall. However, if you kill a skull, it will cause the skeletons to spawn, and those will destroy any walls that are there. You can use this to destroy that wall that's in your way. This is a secret shop, and this is the best way to get at it in Zone 5. It's really convenient that it's there. I did notice the freeze spell off on the left, but that would have to go through a bunch of rooms and enemies, and it's not worth it. So you can already see some enemies that have 3 health, and where 2 damage would be useful. Now this is a good place to use a bomb. I have 2, and so I can get rid of 2 sarcophagi, which are all the sarcophagi that's going to spawn in the main hall. And I can now use this to do there. I also see an incredibly good shop. It has both Peace, which is the best ring in the game for Aria. It cuts down the number of enemies, as well as makes all bosses of their lowest level. And it also has a nice form of mapping, the compass, which will point to the exit. So, yes, so now I just need to pull everything out and not get overwhelmed. So the Earth Dragon, I need to be careful about that I don't. He's going to spawn some walls when I attack him the first time, and I don't want these walls to be obnoxious and block things off. Now he spawns a pile of more than 50 gold, so if you wait 7 beats, a leprechaun will spawn, and when you kill this leprechaun, you'll get another very useful item, the Lucky Charm. You can also milk him for some amount of gold, which I'm doing here. This run is hard, getting some incremental advantage is useful. The Lucky Charm prevents bats from being able to attack you unless they absolutely have to. So it's just a nice thing to have. It also has some other effects that aren't going to come up too much, but since it doesn't cost anything like a slot, I'm just going to get it. So this is part of the bosses being difficult. You can see that I had to deal with the mini-boss there, and getting swarmed early is not a pleasant experience. But I have 2 damage, and this is the first Fortissimo, so that becomes nice and easy. I just dies in 1 hit once I get him off the stage. The choice here is unusual. I'm grabbing the shield tomes instead of the karate gi. The 1 extra damage would be nice, but the shield tomes are absolutely vital for some of the bosses. So I'm getting those just to help myself out. And I get paid off immediately because I get some armor right here. And so the glass armor is going to be very useful in taking a hit. Right? It ups my effective health from 2 to 3. Because I have a potion, and so more bombs are always nice. That wall pig is a future mistake, so get rid of it. You know, planning ahead here. So there's another piece of mapping there that I want, so I'm going to get it in a second. Once I eventually fight my way past it, I'm going to use these ninja stars to get past this thing, to get it open. You can break it with 3 damage. I currently don't do 3 damage, so I need to use something else. So I get the ninja stars, and yeah, that's a bomb trap, so I'm going to get rid of it. So, yep. So now it's just, yep, pull everything back, go to a safe spot, you know, same stuff as before. And here we go. Very glad I got the glass armor there because I would have otherwise lost my potion, and glass armor is easier to replace than a potion. So move to the exit and move on. Now you can see another freeze spell, but this is a big risk. There's a bunch of enemies in that room, and I'm not particularly in the mood for fighting a lot of enemies. So yeah, I'm not going to get it even though it looks useful. You can start to see the enemies. This sarcophagi is not spawning enemies because it's supposed to be spawning monkeys, but Aria can't get monkeys in Zone 4, so it just doesn't spawn anything. This is another really nice break that can happen. So I'm going to count my lucky stars and not question luck. Question lady luck. You know, take this and, you know, let's migrate towards the exit. Eventually I'll get through. Let's slog. Seeing what's in the shop, nothing useful. Okay. 4-3. This is the fastest song in the game, and sort of the hardest part, one of the harder parts for the challenge. So, you know, pull all the enemies out, pull them to a safe spot. You know, just fight your way through and hope, and eventually you get a bunch of enemies dead. Just not too much to say. You get all the basic all the enemies that aren't going to respawn dead. Now you deal with the sarcophagi and leave them where they are. Another lucky break is that the sarcophagi is not spawning enemies, and I can trap the only other sarcophagi that's going to matter. So, you know, I'm just going to do that. You know, take this. So here we go. I'm now slowly easing my way into the exit room. Fighting my way there. Moving on. Get in there. In Zone 4 boss. This is Coral Rift, and this is one of the 2 bosses where having shielding is incredibly useful. Because things are going to start happening really fast, and so just being able to address the mini bosses as well as what the boss is doing is really nice. You know, just ignore the boss for a second and deal with the mini bosses, and sure, it's attacking me. Don't care. Just move on and ignore it. So, you know, it's now kill all the tentacles, and then I need to proceed to then kill the main thing. So I make a mistake here and have to use my other shield, but using my shield is better than losing my potion. So I now throw for the final piece of damage. And now I see Heavy Plate, which absorbs 3 more hits. Useful, keep this. That's what I want. So another extra hit is the Frost Charm. That thing is going to, if I get hit with the Frost Charm, that will freeze all the enemies and give me some time to recover. So another free hit. You know, anything that you can to increase your health is really useful on this character because there aren't many things. Fight my way through, deal with all the enemies. And you may notice that everything's getting a lot less hectic as I get on in levels. This is part of zone reversal. This is part of why Zone 5 at the start is really tricky for Aria. She has many more enemies that she has to deal with. But as I get later in the game and have more stuff to deal with enemies, I have fewer enemies I need to deal with. I think this will become even more telling in Zone 1, when there are just going to be very few enemies, and it's just going to be really easy. So the next thing I notice is that Blast Helm is going to give me 3 bombs, which absolutely I want. The ability to blow up sarcophagi is really nice. You know, just grab the 3 bombs, and grab the 3 bombs eventually. Now it's just, again, fight through all the enemies. Again, remember, Aria has built-in enemy reduction, and I have a ring that is reducing the number of enemies further. So these swarms are much smaller than what they would be on another character, especially without the Ring of Peace. This mode has an incredible number of enemies, and it's a huge problem. I have a shop, I can conjure anything I want. I decide I just want some footgear to protect myself from goo and other stuff, you know, just nice to have. Grab the footgear. Now I'm gonna grab the headphones. These are 2 more damage. I lose them if I drop a beat, but if I drop a beat, I take damage, and I am gonna do everything I can to not drop a beat, so the downside is much smaller on Aria than on anyone else. This is death metal. This is the fastest music in the game, and so, you know, now I need to deal with... This actually took me the longest to get used to, being able to fight death metal without listening to the music. It's really fast if you're not hearing anything, so this took training, but death metal's done. 4 damage, makes it really nice. Open this, get a spell, okay, not bad, probably not going to be used, but whatever. Won't say no to free spells. More bombs, you know. You can already see just way less stuff going on. You know, it's really nice, and the relative weakness of enemies is also really nice. Like, this is much easier to deal with. Just, you know, vacuuming up bombs because they're useful in case I have to deal with sarcophagi, but I got some reasonably cooperative Zone 2 layouts, you know. So, yep, this is, again, fairly straight push to the exit. You can just go get it, go to there, grab some bombs along the way, kill any surplus enemies, move on. Here I'm clearing out openings because I don't want to deal with having a constrained space. You know, just play it safe, like... You know, and now I'm at the exit, and so there aren't too many enemies left, and I just go in. Again, you can see this getting progressively easier and easier as the game goes along, and sort of the breaking point is actually really just Zone 5. Now this fight can be a lot harder if I don't have Ring of Peace and at least 3 damage, but because I have this much damage, the mini-bosses die in 1 hit, and so I don't have to deal with fighting the mini-bosses and getting crowded out by the pieces. Once you kill everything else in the room, the king comes, attacks you, and that's the fight. Here I decide to go for the orange chest because this is the chest that has the highest probability of being a big improvement, and I get paid off getting the monkey's paw. This will freeze monkeys in spot, which can be really useful. This level is deceptively difficult. It is incredibly slow, and you need to be able to actually slow yourself down. It's only 110 beats per minute. For context, death metal is 175, so it's a massive tempo change. You know, you have to slow down massively to deal with this. So, but I have, and now I get paid off with just a relatively empty room and next level. So again, it's now a pretty straight shot. Just checking to see if there's a chest in there. And then, you know, clearing out any sources of mistakes, and then just moving to the exit. So, yet again, kill the boss, move on. You know, it's a lot of one-beat enemies, but nothing too different. Somehow, again, this category starts off complicated and becomes simple. Sort of the opposite of a lot of other things that happen, but you know, such is life. This is the challenge in this category comes from there. I decide to keep the winged boots. I am slightly less likely to make a mistake with them because there's a visual reminder you have it. And you can see me blowing up every sarcophagi I see at this point because I have way too many bombs, and so I should use them. You know, just move on. So this is the last level, and now I'm in the final boss fight. There's an 80-ish% chance that this boss fight is entirely on rails, lasts 18.5 seconds, and it happens. The way it doesn't happen is if you see one of the horse riders on the second from the front column, but it's entirely on rails, and so that's been rehearsed forever, and that's the whole run. Finally, I have a couple postscripts I'd like to add. First off, I acknowledge that this is an incredibly challenging run, and I'm going to have 1 or 2 attempts where I go in unseeded, try to beat the run without having any knowledge of what's going to happen. But if this falls apart, I'm going to have a seed prepared as backup, something which I know is what's going to happen and has reasonably favorable items. So this is going to be my way to mitigate the incredible challenge. And secondly, just to talk about the history of the category, I got the first clear of this category a couple months ago, and that's it. No one else has done this. There's about 30 people who have cleared Aria hard. You know, there's only a handful of people who can deal with wrong music. I think this is an incredibly different take on Crypt of the NecroDancer than anything else that's been done at GDQs before. And I hope that this is an interesting take. Thank you.